And we are not. And we are live. We is live, all the way live. Let me get my stuff together. Yes, sir. All right. We in the building. Just seeing who's gonna come up in the building.
Who gonna come learn some of these songs?
Who
It's your
coming
boy,
up in the building?
King L Bay,
Yes,
aka
sir.
Buzzhead Fred, aka Young Johnny, aka Sauce Boss, aka I'm in the building,
Yo,
Buzzhead
it's
Fred in the building. So
Bandeli Elamine back again in the building with my homeboy King L Bay busting heads in the building, right? Uh, tonight's video, we're going to be discussing what is a protected class. All right. So that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. What is a protected class? Kind of get best going in a little deeper than what we based off of the status and things and whatnot, right? So
right.
we're going to get into that, y'all. Before we get into that, please check out all my books on Amazon.com. You can look me up under Bandeli Elamine, and all my books or on Amazon.com. So please check them out. All right. So
Al- Also, look for King L Bay on Amazon.com for how to stop child support. Um, Peace and love to all those supporting the book. We're going to talk about a protected class and how to protect your rights, safeguarding your rights through contracts. And you got to understand who can be a protected class within the jurisdiction.
that's what's up. That's what's up. So hey, man, we can get into it, man. We can start getting into it right now. So tell me
So,
what is a protected class? I'm gonna put that up on the board though. What is a protected
a
class?
protected class within jurisdiction fall within a particular category of law. And you have like international protected persons or a protected class of individual based on their titles, based on their positions, based on their professions as it relates to jurisdiction. Um, so you have certain individuals under law that is protected within the jurisdiction, and not necessarily they have to be in a sovereign capacity. It's just the law cater to those particular individuals.
Okay, so what kind of when you talk about protected class, give me an example of a person that's a protected
You
class.
might
Like
have an
like
ambassador, a person who has diplomatic protections. You might even under the consumer protection laws of the United States. That's a particular protected class. You have also international protected persons that also fall under that category. But it's also according to your contract, what you can put in your contract and your ability to draft the contract and how well you want to protect yourself by putting certain procedural safeguards in your contracts where you can now protect the rights as it relates to being a protected class or having a protected status within the trust. So you might have a particular individual in the trust that must be protected because he is playing a vital role in the trust. So, that's like a trust protector, right? And his job is to protect the who? The benefactors. So the benefactors under a trust can be a protected class. So a lot of people need to understand law, the different degrees of law when they trying to proceed in trust law and other laws, so they can understand how to draft contracts to make sure they have certain safeguards and make sure they have certain things that are protected. Property can go through property protections that you also can protect property in trust and other contracts. So the way you negotiate certain things determine how well you can protect and safeguard your rights and property. You got to remember everything is dealing with property. Even rights is considered property. So depending on what we're talking about as it relates to an interest in property, as it relates to a right in property. So we got to understand the different categories of protected classes as it relate to that. So let me see if I can pull up something on the internet
All
or the
right,
Google.
y'all. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done that. And please pass this video along. So, with the protected class, you're saying protected class is um, dealing with property. So, the protected class, like the person that you're talking about, an ambassador, he's a property, right?
Right. So do you want me to share the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see about to
Bust
share
it,
the screen.
bust it, bust it, bust it.
So,
All right, I see
okay.
you.
The term protected class refers
I
to
see your
a,
thing. That's something.
can you see it?
I think it's coming
See,
up. It's coming. Yeah,
okay,
there you go.
okay,
There you go.
okay. The term
If y'all in
protected
the chat,
class
let
refers,
me know if y'all can see it.
okay.
No, I'm
Can
just
they
saying.
see it?
If you in the chat room, let us know if you can see it. Good.
Okay, the term protected class refers to a group, refers to groups of people who are legally protected from being harmed or harassed by law, practice, and policies that discriminate against them due to a shared characteristic: race, gender, age, disability, sexual orientation. These groups are protected by both U.S. federal and state laws. The Civil Rights Division, right, of the U.S. Department of Justice is the independent federal agency. Y'all see this, right? The 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 federal, it says the U.S. Department of Justice is a independent federal agency. Y'all need to pay attention to what that means. Responsible for enforcing all federal anti-discrimination laws. They just told you what the purpose of the Department of Justice is.
Okay. You saying the purpose of Department of Justice is for anti
This is what
discrimination?
this is what it says. The Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice is the independent federal agency. The U.S. Department of Justice is an independent federal agency responsible for enforcing all federal anti-discrimination laws. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is assigned with enforcement of these laws specifically as they apply to employment. So a
Okay.
protected class is a group of people sharing a common trait who are legally protected from being discriminated against on the basis of that trait. Example of protected class include race, gender, age, disability, and veteran status. U.S. Anti-discrimination laws are enforced both by the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
So, I mean, that could be anybody. Then that could be any of us, right? Like you
Yeah,
say, like so, a protected class is somebody who's over, like that's an elderly person.
right. But you also have protected classes within treaty law too.
Okay, so when you talk about that, that kind of goes to what like Moors, what us Moors would be probably looking at, because that protected class you just talking about. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That protected class sound like what we already deal with. And don't feel like it give you no special protection. Oh snap! I think he done went off the air, but he'll be back though. I'm just trying to, y'all. I'm just trying to see where he was going with that because um, he was reading off protected class, and it was from Department of Justice. So it's like that sounds like that's the kind of stuff that protect anybody, right? Well, I'm about to see he back on. Yo, yo, yo. So you there? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Daniel son. I can't hear you. No sound. No sound. I don't hear you. No sound. If I am I the only one that can't hear you? Somebody else in the building? Anybody in the building? Can you hear King El Baynet right now? Because I can't hear nothing. So I don't know what he done. Y'all bear with us. Y'all bear with us. So let me just say though, while you try to figure that out, because I don't know, maybe you got to come back in and out. I don't know. Um, this protected class, for what I think he about to get into, I think he about to say something about international law. The brother's mic ain't on. That's what I was thinking, man. I was thinking his mic wasn't on. But what about with this protected class is what's like for basic people. I think people that are you there? Can you hear? They said your mic might have been off. Your mic ain't on. Is your mic on? I don't know, bro. I need you to get it together. Like we said, brothers, we was talking about the protected class and what is a protected class. And he was saying that Department of Justice defined department class. I mean, the protected class, like people who were elderly, maybe even minorities, certain people that had protected rights really under the Constitution, right? But he was about to get into treaty, okay, about to get into treaty law and the protected class dealing with treaty law, right? So that's what I really want to get into. I don't know what's going on with my brother. Let me see. Let me try to see if I can see what's wrong with his mic, man. Edit mic settings. Cause man, they trying to stop us, y'all. They trying to stop us. Okay, I hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. All
Okay.
right, y'all. So we back. So we was talking about international or treaty law. Treaty
Right.
law in regards to protected class.
Right.
So okay, so what's the relation?
So your status, right? When we talk about status as it relates to civil rights, right? It always is your relationship or your position in the contract. And that position in the contract or the terms and conditions determine your status or your basis of who you are in the contract. which give you standing. So let's say if you're a protected class under the treaty, right? So you got consul generals in the Moorish Treaty. You got different Moors. So you got to read the Constitution with a very steady eye so you can understand who is protected and who is not protected as it relates to rights. So when you're looking at these documents, you have to make sure you do a thorough examination of what it's speaking on to understand the true legal analysis to make a good prediction of what's what. So when we talk about protected class within the treaty, you got to understand you and it depends on the type of treaty it is. So let's say if you was
Let's talk
a
about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
oh
If
we
we talk
can
about the
do
Treaty
the
of Peace and
treaty.
Friendship, how are you a protected person in regards to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship?
So the Treaty of Peace and Friendship it speaks on several. It talks about merchants, right? So a lot of people don't understand the law of merchants as it relates to that. Um, it's dealing. It's a military. You got to understand. It's dealing with two combatants had said we gonna not have war. We gonna be at peace.
Right?
So it's a military for its commerce.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, okay.
Uh,
So
for second.
it's military, but
No.
how is this relating to the treaty as far as
For
is
its
it
purpose,
are you saying because the treaty we got this particular relationship with that treaty that in itself is a protected person?
um, the treaty. So you have to read the treaty, right, as it relates to rights associated within the treaty. So the treaty talks about how we supposed to interact, and a lot of people don't understand. As under the treaty, we supposed to be at peace with each other. So we don't supposed to be at war for
So
no reason.
okay,
What is
right. I mean, I get it. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, right? It's peace,
so
right?
right? So how we are protected under the treaty is that we you don't supposed to breach the peace. I'm trying to see where am I?
Like article was it article? Which article is it? Which all treaties are highest form of law of the land?
So the supremacy clause.
Right, the supremacy clause.
Right.
So the so I'm asking you: is the supremacy clause like part of this protected class?
It's the supremacy clause is just a clause uh in the contract. It's a supremacy that says that the treaties, all treaties, right, and all that's made prior to the Constitution is supreme law of the land.
Right.
So
Okay. Right. So I'm saying, is that like part of what makes you a protected person? The supremacy clause.
uh, it triggers treaty. You can say that's you can
I
say
just
that's
need
a
you. I
mechanism.
just need you to get like to like what is making you in the treaty, like giving something like what and what part of the treaty can I relate to when you're talking about protected persons?
So when
Yeah, a protected class.
it talks about nationality, right? As it relates to your national standing, as it relates to your the jurisdiction. So hold on one second.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it out of him, y'all. Because what I'm trying to get is some meat, man. I'm trying to get some meat. I'm a vegan, but I need some of that meat, bro.
Okay,
Like I need
now
that
when you,
knowledge. That knowledge.
so when you're looking at the treaty, okay, what makes you a protected class? It protect merchants,
Okay, merchants. So merchants are considered a protected class
right, under treaty,
under treaty.
right?
Now
Moors,
that's
Moors.
just with the treaty. Is that with just the treaty of peace and friendship?
I
Particularly,
mean,
we're talking about
yeah, I mean, each
like
treaty, a treaty is specifically engineered for a particular purpose.
right.
So what it is, Moors under that treaty are a protected class, not just, but merchants is also protected. So, but Moors under that treaty is considered a protected class. Anybody who is under that treaty is a protected class under law within the United States.
Now, I really haven't heard it spoken that way as far as a protected class. When Moors usually talking about nationality, they usually don't speak of themselves as a protected class.
So
So
let's go to the treaty so we can now go through everything and do it in specific order. I go over some treaty elements and we can look at that under the statutes. Let me see. My color just changed.
bring it out, bring it out.
Let me share the screen. I don't know what's going
Like we
on.
said, y'all share. Please like the video, share the video. The algorithms jumping. Okay,
Let
just
me.
help us out. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, so we about to break this down, y'all. So all y'all Moors, tell your Moors in the to get in the building so we can build. Get the Moors in the building so we can build on this. You know what I'm saying?
So, privileges of vessels in the case of war. We go over the treaty as it starts to break down. And a lot of people need to understand what we're talking about. So, what I want to say, this ain't legal advice. I'm just giving my opinion. This is for educational purposes only. So,
Facts.
so I just want people to understand. Um, it talks about we declare that both parties have agreed that this treaty consists of 12 articles shall be inserted into this book and delivered to the Honorable Thomas Barclay, the agent of the United States, now at our courts, with whose approbation it has been made and who is duly authorized on their part to treat with us concerning all matters concerning therein. So a probation means approved, who has been approved. And this been transliterated from Arabic into English.
Right.
Okay. So it says, if either party shall be at war with any nation whatsoever, the other party shall not take commission from the enemy nor fight under their colors. So it breaks down all the different things as it relates to you and your status, as it relates to a protected class under here. Let me see if I can go to. It says, okay, if either of the parties shall be at war with any nation, whatever, and take prize belonging to the nation, and there shall be and there shall be found on board subjects or effects belonging to of either party, the subject shall be set at liberty, and the effects returned to the owners. And if any goods belonging to any nation with whom neither party shall be at war shall be loaded on the vessel belonging to the other party, there shall pass free and unmolested without any attempt being made to take or detain them. That's a mouthful right there.
That's a lot, right?
You get what
But
I'm
I
saying?
do, right.
I want you to pay
So
attention to the second part. I want you to pay attention to the first part. It says, if either party shall be at war with any nation whatever, and take prize belonging to that nation, and there shall be found on board subjects. You know who subjects are, right?
speak on it.
Okay, a subject is somebody who is subjected to the jurisdiction. They're under the
Okay,
authority of the jurisdiction. So a subject is somebody, they can even be a citizen or a non-citizen, or
right.
they can be
Subject is
anybody.
usually right
Anybody.
under like the king or something. Subjects to the
Yeah,
king.
yeah.
Right, right.
Or
Right.
effects
I got you.
belonging to either of the party, the subject shall be set at liberty, and the effects return to the owner. You see what I'm saying? So even if you are subject under this treaty, you are to be set free. If you are at war with any other nation or anything, they're supposed to let you go. And if any goods belonging to any nation with whom either of the parties shall be at war shall be loaded on a vessel belonging to the other party, they shall pass free and unmolested without any attempt being made to take or detain them.
Yeah, protected. So, so even back in the 1700s, you got protected persons
Right,
versus a slave, somebody
right.
who's enslaved. Right. Okay.
So it says, if a Moor shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to his majesty, the citizen shall be immediately be set at liberty, and the effects restored. And in like manner, this is very careful. You see this? In like manner, do anybody know what
I
that
got you.
means? Cut that down, sir.
You say what's the word?
In like manner.
In like manner. Okay.
In
What's that?
reference,
What's that
what
mean?
it's just reference. It said, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to his majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty and effects restored. And in like manner, right? So it's saying,
Oh, okay.
okay, if it's reversed, right? If any more not a subject of these dominions shall make prize of any citizen of the America or their effects and bring them into any of the ports of his majesty, they shall be immediately released, as they will be considered under his majesty protection.
I got you.
That's a
I got you.
protected class.
Okay.
You see what
So,
I'm saying?
all right. So, I think I think we understand what protected class how and then how it relates to treaty. So, if we look at today, how how does that relate to protected persons today? As far as us, I mean, would you consider us a protected class?
No,
Okay, and why would you not consider us a protected class?
it's evident.
I'm saying not not your regular NBC 14th Amendment, but someone who's considered themselves a Moor or their status.
They have to
They,
fall under a category of law that allow them to be protected. So let's
I
go
mean,
to,
What does
Let's
that mean?
go to 15 USC consumer protection. Or we can go to the Consumer Protection Act.
Consumer Protection Act. Okay.
General provisions. Congress find and declare of this purpose. Congress finds that economic stabilization will be enhanced and, and competition among the various financial institutions and other firms engaged in the extension of consumer credit will be strengthened by the informed use of credit. Do you see that? The informed use of credit results from an awareness of the cost thereof by consumers. If it is the purpose of subchapter to assure a meaningful disclosure of credit terms so that the consumer will be able to compare more readily the various credit terms available to him and avoid the uninformed use of credit and protect the consumer against inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices. This is very powerful.
All right. So break it down.
Okay, so Congress is saying, hey, look, consumers have a right to be aware. So anytime you get a contract, anybody who's doing, first of all, they need to explain to you what kind of transaction. Especially if you're coming in and you saying, hey, I'm a consumer, you need to know your consumer protection laws, because if you don't express your intent under consumer credit, they can then put you in another category of law as it relates to the
Mm.
transaction. So let's
Mm.
say you're going to go buy a home. If you don't express that you are a consumer, right? When you identify yourself as a consumer, I want you to be quiet right
She ain't trying to hear that.
now.
She said I'm in a protected. She said I'm in a protected class.
No, she wants the cup, but she keeps spilling it all over her.
Uh-oh.
Stop. So, under consumer protection laws, stop.
See credit.
Please.
Calm you down, boy.
Okay,
She
hold on.
loud, boy.
I'm,
Yeah. I'm gonna meet y'all.
hold
Okay, y'all.
on. I'm
I'm gonna read
sorry,
it.
family. The term, she's sleeping. She's sleeping. The term credit means the right granted to a debtor to defer payment of debt, to incur debt and defer its payments. Do anybody understand what that means? The
Okay, read
term
it again.
credit means the right granted by a creditor to a debtor. It's a right.
Okay, right.
No, you can. I want you to sit right here. I want you to be quiet. No.
I had to mute her real quick, y'all. My fault though, but I see where he going with it. I see where he going with it. Let me see.
Be quiet.
So you're gonna have to read that again though, because I really want you to look. You got to look at it again. I can't see it that good though. Straight up. Let me
I
blow my
want
smoke
you to
a little
stop.
bit.
If
Oh,
you
okay.
don't
It
stop,
says
I'm going in the room.
the term credit. Let's see something.
Stop.
I'm gonna mute you real quick. The term credit means the rights granted by a creditor to a debtor to defer payment of debt and incur debt and defer its payment. Okay, that's. Let me see. I'll mute you, bro.
If you going, you better not go in there. You better not go in there. Come on, let's
She's
go.
not playing tonight, man.
Let's go to
She's
bed.
not playing tonight. She's not playing tonight.
Go to bed. Or be quiet.
So why we doing that? So why we doing that? Look, I'm looking at this though, and this is kind of deep. Let me see something. The term credit means the right grant. See, it's like okay, so you got the creditor. Yeah, my dude enough too. All right, bro. So you done went to the term credit, and I'm just looking at it. We done read it, but I mean, I think we understand what it's saying, but
So to defer payment of debt or to incur debt and defer its payment. So
so
so depending on how what is being identified. Put her put her on the shirt. She ain't got it. So depending on the all intents and purposes, right? Put her on a different shirt. So a lot of people need to learn this term.
for all intent and purposes, okay, we're gonna definitely have to break that down. I mean, we've used that word.
Let me see. For all intent and
Okay,
purposes is the idiomatic expression which mean in effect or in every practical way. It implies that one thing may not be the same as another thing, but it may lead to the same result or effect. So when we talk about for all intent and purposes, you need to express the intent and the purpose of your how your credit should be used with instruction.
I got you.
Used to say one thing has the same effect or result as something else. So, what is your intent and what is your intent? So we need to know what is intent. Intent or purpose. With the Lord, she realized his intent.
Right?
Intent in law. Firmly or steadfast fix. An intent share. Having the intention sharply. I don't know what that means as it relates to that. Okay, intent. Intent generally refers to the mental objective behind the action. The concept of intent is often the focal point of criminal law and is generally shown by circumstantial evidence such as the acts or knowledge of the defendant. So when we talking about intent, right? What was your intentions behind your consumer credit? what was the intent and what was the purpose? Why did you? What was your intent and what was the purpose of you giving them that your credit account or whatever you want to call it? What was your purpose?
So, like for this, when you're talking about here to
Right.
incur debt in the first payment, is that the purpose of credit?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
To if you incur debt, then you have the right to defer the payment. As it relates to, you can specify the terms and conditions under your consumer protection.
so, getting back to protected, what is it? What we calling it? Protected persons? Not protected persons, but what we say it's called
Protected class,
yeah, protected class. So getting back to protected class,
right?
you're, you're,
So
you're,
if you see
you're,
the consumer protection laws, it says to protect the consumer against inaccurate and unfair credit billing and credit card practices.
so a consumer is considered a protected class.
Yes.
Okay, then we consumers aren't we labeled as consumers?
It,
So we are a protected class.
it's different categories of law. It depends
So
on
I'm
your
saying,
status relate to the contract.
are you and me are not? Are we not considered consumers?
It's based upon the contract.
So okay, I hear you. I understand.
So if you was hanging drywall, right, you wouldn't be considered a consumer in that capacity, would you? Move.
No,
So
but would I be a but would I be a consumer if I had to go buy the drywall?
no, not necessarily. You could be a business, and it could be an expense.
Okay, so
So
consumer is based on the contract.
So we got to understand consumer as it relates to United States.
I mean, because they look at us all as a consumer. And at some point, when we're talking about the gross national product, and they want us to go out here and spend money. I mean, who are they talking to? And does that make you a consumer when you go out here and spend money?
Not necessarily.
All right. So, all right,
I'm trying to find a
you about to look
consumer.
up the definition of consumer.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the definition of consumer.
She giving you the business.
Would you would you cut it back on for?
So anybody,
I know. Brandon, would you just cut it back on for us because we all up?
what is a consumer?
Let me see.
What is a consumer? I
Consumer.
mean, by definition, one who consumes, one who uses up, who uses.
Under the consumer, it says, I know it says a consumer, anything that's used for household some purposes. So under,
Right, you're right. I
so
have heard. I have heard.
I'm trying to find it as it relates to
I have seen it,
consumer.
yo. My fault, yo. Yeah. I, so you're saying like a consumer is one who uses household goods, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, that basically is saying that who doesn't use household goods, bro?
So like this is a definition, right? The consumer means an individual. So if you understand this, right, you got to be careful what the term consumer is, right? So there are different forms under. This is why term consumer means a buyer, other than for the purpose of resale. Any consumer product or any person whom product is transferred during the duration of implied or written warranty application to a product. But this ain't the term of consumer that I'm looking for.
Well, hold up. Well, okay, go ahead, go ahead. You going to another one, but
Hold on. I'm trying to
it says a
find.
buyer means a buyer, and this is other than one who is buying for resale.
Right.
So,
I just
right.
stumbled across this. Right. Normally, they tell you what a consumer is under the law. So I'm trying to.
So you trying to tell me that a consumer is a protected person?
Right.
So we can
That's why
no,
they
hold on. So,
have
no, hold on, hold on,
protection.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. So you telling me that I can use the term consumer and somehow I can use that to be? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you. Come here.
All right. So y'all. So I'm looking at this, right? I'm looking at this, and he trying to tell me that a consumer is a protected person. So if let's say if I'm gonna ask him this, but I want y'all to think about this. What if we in court and we trying to be protected persons? Is consumer only relating to a particular type of protected per class? Hold on, I'm gonna put you back in there, man. Man,
And I want you to every uh, a,
I just want to know.
a
Okay,
consumer.
okay.
It depends on the transaction. You see what I'm saying? It's a consumer transaction.
So instead of you being vague, you're going to have to give me something particular so we can relate this, man. Because it's kind of like I ain't gonna say over the head. It's kind of over the head.
So let me see if I can find consumer transaction. Let me look under. See this like this
So,
one. This jumped out like when I seen consumer under this. So now they got two definitions for consumer, right? Let me see if I can find this in the United States Code for a second.
because I'm trying to say like, oh, I go to court and I'm saying, oh, well, I'm a consumer. I'm under the protected class, Your Honor. Like being a consumer, how are you a protected class, or is there a difference between a protected class and somebody that you're talking about as a protected in the code? Like I don't know. Is it the same? I'm just trying to make sure we understand everything. Because I mean, being protected, I don't want people to jump out here and be like, "Oh, we're a protected class," and start, trying to write up stuff. We got to understand what a protected class really is.
I'm trying to consumer transaction.
Because, like I say, it's kind of heavy, man. Like I said, like the Moors and the sovereigns. I mean, they don't. I don't know if I ever hear them speaking in that way as a protected class.
She got paper on there. Okay.
Uh oh, you talking about credit
So
repair,
I'm trying to
consumer.
look at the consumer credit transaction.
And so it says consumer means individual. And when you,
There you go.
what does individual mean?
You
Because
see this?
individual means what?
You see this one right here? Consumer credit. Let me blow it up.
Consumer credit transaction. The term consumer credit transaction means any transaction in which credit is offered or extended to an individual for personal, family, or household purposes. Consumer credit transaction.
That's
Okay,
a
so
consumer credit transaction. That's a transaction. Consumer means an individual, right?
right, an individual credit transaction. Is that what we're translating it to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that relate to a protected class? And
How?
so how is that relating to a protected class? Because
This,
I'm gonna be coming for you. I'm gonna be coming for you, bro.
okay. So let's look at.
Okay, consumer protection law. Protect law. Okay, so you're trying to okay. So it's just let me ask you this though.
Consumers credit cost disclosures, trade and commerce. Um, it talks about exempt transactions, rules and constructions. It breaks down different things as it relates to United States codes, unfair practices, acquisitions. It just breaks down a number of things. Terms of personal property lease. They just break down a lot of different things. If you really, they got a lot of different categories. So let's go to.
Make all right, so I'm saying make that connection to protected class.
Okay,
Just I mean because
a
just because it say
consumer when
protected don't mean
doing
the
a
same.
particular transaction is protected from certain things. He's protected as a protected class. You have to do certain things. You cannot just do anything to a consumer. I want you to be quiet or you going to bed. I want you to stop. Well, come on. She's sleepy. That's all it is. So equal credit opportunity. These are certain categories of law. Restrictions on garnishments, credit repair organizations, credit reporting agency, equal credit opportunities, debt collection practices. So let's go through debt collection practices. These are under consumer protection laws. A debt collector may not engage in any conduct the natural consequences in which is to harass, oppress, or abuse any person in connection with collection of a debt without limiting the general application foregoing the following conduct is a violation under this section. The
Okay.
use or threat of use of violence or other criminal means to harm the physical person, reputation, or property of any person. The use of obscene or profane language or language that natural consequences of which is to abuse the hearer or reader. The publication of a list of consumers who allegedly refuse to pay debts except to a consumer reporting agency or to persons meeting the requirement under these sections of this title. The advertisement for sale of any debt to coerce payment of the debt causing a telephone to ring or engage in any person in telephone conversation repeatedly or continuously with the intent to annoy, abuse, or harass any person at the call number, except as provided under this, the placement of telephone calls without meaningful disclosure of the caller's identity. So these are they give you parameters of what they're doing if a bill collector tried to come at you and do that. False or misleading rep, representation, right? A when you in a consumer transaction, they can't mislead you as it relates to the contract or the transaction.
I
Are you
got you.
there, God? The
I
false
understand that.
representation, the character, amount, or legal status of any debt, right? They can't lie to you about the legal status of a debt.
Okay. Okay.
The term debt means any obligation or alleged obligation of a consumer. So I want you to read this again. It says any obligation or alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, property, or insurance or service which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. Hold on, man. I want y'all to read this real good.
I mean, I'm seeing what you're saying. So what? I mean, debt, any obligation of a consumer, any obligation for them to pay money arising
Right.
out of a transaction.
In which the money, property, insurance, or service which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. So, a consumer, right, when you got to
Right.
understand when it's used in this purpose, they got to disclose it. It turns into a consumer transaction, and then you got to let them know in which how you extended your credit. They but somehow, some way, they take and transfer you over to the debtor, and now you are no longer the creditor by contract, by
Yeah.
acquiescence.
Yeah. You go to them with the power of credit, but you don't realize you got the power of credit.
Let's go. I'm hip y'all on.
So how these okay, from my personal understanding, this seems different than your like the protected class that I thought we were like talking about. So like
No,
they
I'm
seem
just
to be
showing you that there are when you're looking at law, there's categories of when you talk about a protected class, you got to understand that law, if you can be a protected class totally exempt, partially exempt, or you can have parameters of exemption. So I can be totally exempt in a particular category, and then in another category, I'm not exempt.
okay.
So, for example, the president, he's exempt to all types of stuff. But what
Right.
one thing under the category of law that he's one thing he's not exempt from is treason under criminal actions. So your status determines different categories of law, your exemption, but it can also have parameters to it in which allow you to do what? Have other consequences based upon certain actions. So you got to understand that anytime there's a protected class, you might not meet full protections in certain categories, but you might have partial protection. So when I talk about protected class, there's variations of protections as it relates to your status within the contract. Do that make
Can we get fully protected? Uh, like, what is a like an ambassador? Was he how an ambassador? He's pretty much fully protected in a lot, right? Well, I ain't gonna say fully, but he seems like he's pretty protected. I mean, I would say an ambassador is pretty protected.
it depends on the country.
Right? You say right there.
I'm trying to see.
Well, I mean, like an ambassador, it's not they're not fully protected, but I mean, I know an ambassador. You know, what's the movie Lethal Weapon? He was like diplomatic immunity.
Uh,
Okay, do ambassadors have what did it say? Oh, have security details. I mean, I'm sure some of them do, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on the ambassadors, but I mean, they pretty much can do a lot in the country when they're in the U.S. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, are Moors able, or melanated people, are they able to put themselves in a protected class?
yes, they can put themselves in a protected category. So
A
that's why
protected
a
class.
lot of us, like, it's like when they deal with this law stuff, it's so many things that go over people's head. You know, you could be in a protected class status and you turn around and kill somebody. You just waive that.
You weren't that protected then.
Now you were protected. Is just that your behavior it was a consequence to lose immunity. So let's talk about judges. They got
Are
judicial
judges in a protected? They're protected class. I mean, okay, we could talk about judges. We could talk about police.
police got what they call qualified immunity.
So is immunity and protected class synonymous with each other? Or I mean, like, are we talking about two different things?
But a judge can waive his immunity if he do certain things. This is what I'm saying. So
True.
if he act in a certain capacity, he can his immunity is waived and he can be sued. Same as just like an officer. They have what they call qualified immunity.
Right. So they are protected class and a protected class.
Yeah, that's why I say
I got you.
there's when you're dealing with law, there is legal qualified immunity, legal doctrine in the United States federal law. In the United States, qualified immunity is a legal principle that grants government officials performing discretionary functions immune from civil suit unless the plaintiff shows the official violating clearly established the statutory or constitutional right, which which a reasonable person would have known.
Let me ask. Like, let's see what they say right here. My man asked, that's our brother KB in the building, man. KB in the building. He asking, is all ambassadors equal? I would say no, right?
Um, it depends on. See, it depends on the relationship with the two states, how they look at ambassadors. So it just depends on the nations and how they go about doing business. Give me that. If we
I
would get
got
that
you.
from her, she writing all over
So
her.
right here, y'all, we was talking about treaties earlier. Uh, this is the book, my book, Moore's Treaties, right? So we talking about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. That treaty and its breaking down is in this book. So y'all go get that book right there. Okay, just letting y'all know. I didn't even did it show up.
Yeah, it showed up.
Okay, okay, I got you. So, uh, cool, man. All right, man. So I don't know anything else you want to jump on this real quick, man, or whatnot.
Now, I think we
Should have
covered
waited.
some. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I think people need to, when we looking at this stuff, there's certain levels or degrees of information that we got to look at. I think a lot of us put a lot of this stuff in one, lump it in one category, and they don't understand the degrees of law as it relates to category of law, as it relates to status, as it relates to the different type of contracts that you're in, and the rights associated with the that contract as it relates to that particular status dealing with particular transactions. So we have to understand this stuff in totality so that we can better understand how to move. Take that from where it's
Yo, word up, son. All right, y'all. Well, appreciate everybody in the building. We about to drop out, man. You can put that baby to bed, bruh. She's
at.
trying to
Yeah,
be a
she
part of the show.
was.
So I'm gonna check
Good
y'all on
night.
the next show. And until then, Tutanana.